Today's video is all about story. Story is something that we often neglect as wedding videographers. We like to focus on things like the cameras, the gear, the technology. But story can make a massive difference to your videos, and it can really help you to stand out in a crowd. So today I've got a very special guest, Emma Wilson. Emma is an incredible wedding videographer, and she's got a lot of experience and knowledge that's helped her with everything to do with stories. So I'm going to pass over to Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi, Ben. Thank you so much. So as you said, story is really, really important. And I do appreciate that now it's been for a few years now, a bit on trend to talk about story. But my background means that storytelling is really, really in my DNA. I was at the BBC for 20 years as a pioneer video journalist, which basically means I was a one-stop shop from the newsroom. I wrote my news stories, I presented them, I edited them, and I was also a newsreader. So I kind of did everything. And then while I was still at the BBC, I started up Story of Your Day, my wedding film company. I juggled for about 2 years both, but juggling a family, Story of Your Day and working at the BBC was just really, really tough. So I decided to leave the BBC. And then a couple of years later, we moved as a family to Switzerland, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I'd have stayed at the BBC. So Story of Your Day is an international wedding film company, and I film weddings all over the world. I'm really blessed to do what I do. I absolutely love my job. But the most important thing is my passion. And I would say that I'm a storyteller first and foremost, and a filmmaker second. So I found that really interesting about what you say about everybody gets hung up, or some people get hung up with the gear you use, the lenses and the kit. And it really doesn't need to be that complicated if you've got a good story.
I was actually going to come in with quite a big question to start off. What makes a great story? I know it's something that can be different to everybody, but to you, What makes a really strong story?
I'll just flip that round a bit and say that people say to me sometimes, what inspires you? What films inspire you? And I always say my clients inspire me. So I guess what makes a good story is people and places, and the stories that they have to tell. And all stories are different. And as long as you're able to identify a good story, it's the content, it's the people within that story that you have to draw out.
I see. Oh, that's great. That's great. My next question I had, you've kind of answered to an extent, but it was basically, how have the years of working as a journalist sharpened your storytelling skills and kind of helped you in your endeavours making wedding films?
What my experience at the BBC gives me is the fact that I can identify a story much easier and quicker than a lot of people. I'm really nosy. I ask people a lot of questions. And then when I identify a story, I'm able to turn that action around really quickly and discreetly. Also means I can anticipate action that's likely to happen, maybe a little bit more easier than people that haven't got that journalistic background. And you're always listening. When you're at weddings, I think I go in listening more than I'm seeing. I'm listening for the audio that will tell a story, as well as looking. But the great thing is the preparation and the planning. I often can identify a story from the moment that they inquire because of the questions I ask in the contact form.
I see.
So it's really important that you can start identifying stories from that first moment.
And that's really great that you have a questionnaire, because my next question was going to be, when does it start for you? And I know a lot of videographers, I'm quite nosy myself, so I do ask a lot in the pre-wedding chats, but I think having a questionnaire and getting lots of detail is definitely going to help you.
The thing is, I only want a wedding film client that identifies with me and my ethos and wants the same thing. So if someone doesn't have enough time to fill out that part of the questionnaire that says, tell me your story, tell me a little bit more about you, and ask those questions, then I know that they're not my client. Of course, sometimes people look like they might be my client on paper because they've answered those, but they just haven't got the budget. But I can pretty much tell when I get an inquiry form through I had one recently, in November, that it was like a dissertation. And even though I didn't think those clients would have the budget for me, they made it happen for them because they had fallen in love with my work, my ethos, and thought, this is what we want. They almost pitched their wedding to me. And that gave me so much background about them that I've got so much to already work on. I'll just give you an example because I know you're going to be playing some of my films, but one of my favorite films, and therefore it's on the front page of my website, is of Brittany and Ryan.
Radio Suisse Pop.
It's really beautiful. My dearest darling, it is Monday evening and I want very much to write a letter to you. I have Swiss music on the radio and it makes me very lonesome for you. I would give everything that I own to be near you, but I know that it won't be long until we are together forever and a day.
It is significant that this wedding ceremony is taking place here in Davos, Switzerland, because this is the city where Brittany's grandparents, Tootsie and Pops, were married 72 years ago.
I read somewhere that if you meet someone and your heart pounds and your hand shakes and your knees go weak, that's not the one. When you meet your soulmate, you feel calm. And you're my calmness. No anxiety, no agitation. You're my calm and my person. And I promise to love you as long as I live. It is a wonderful night tonight. This is the 9th of July, 1946. Darling, yesterday I received permission from the Army to marry you. The order said that I could marry you any time after 6th of July, so we can be married as soon as I can come to Switzerland. Darling, every minute of that forever will be wonderful. My whole life has taken on a real new meaning since we decided to be husband and wife. Life was good to me when it let me meet you. Ruth, believe me when I say that I could never be completely happy again without you. They were engaged in the Surtees, where we're sitting right now, and that's where he officially proposed. And they got married in Frauenkirch, so it was a true love story.
Brittany, it seems like just yesterday we were in Orange County on our first date, which was very romantic, by the way, as you know. Fast forward to today and I wouldn't change a thing. I've loved every minute. You are so bold, steadfast, caring, faithful, daring, kind, empathetic. You're a dreamer, traveler, a believer in me, hopeful in me, and in people.
They look awfully happy, don't they? They do. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for some little meeting in a little hospital in Davos.
It's crazy.
I had two inquiries in roughly at the same time, both for Switzerland, both beautiful weddings. The first one came from an English couple, really gorgeous, everything you want in your portfolio. A beautiful lake wedding, Lake Lucerne, amazing hotel, really good suppliers. So everything about it was, yeah, this is really cool. And they had a nice story.
Yeah.
But they took a little while to come back to me. And in that time, Brittany and Ryan came to me, and she wrote that there was just 12 of them coming over from Texas in the United States, but she was coming back to this little church in the Surtees in Davos for the very reason that her grandfather and her grandmother had met there in the Second World War. And I was sold. I knew that filming a wedding with like 12 guests or something, I knew that it was never going to be about the wedding. It was always going to be about their story. And I knew it was going to be a challenge. But it's exactly the sort of weddings that I want to film, because for me, people have said to me, you don't make wedding films, you tell stories about people who just so happen to be getting married. And obviously, if you look at my work, some of those films look like wedding films with individual stories.
Yeah.
But my truest work, the work that I have the most affinity with, are those that are just stories about my clients.
The other thing I was going to ask, which I think you've probably answered to an extent, but is how do you go about attracting those couples in the first place? And I know you said some of the questionnaire obviously helps to put some people off who might not have the same values. But what other ways do you attract people who have great stories to tell?
I made my About Me page a story about me. I have a lot of quotes on my on all my social media, storytelling quotes, and I talk about why story is important. Not why me as a storyteller is important, but why their story is important. You just have to make it clear, but without throwing it in people's faces on your social media. Drip it out. Moving
back towards the wedding now, I know you have like a whole wealth of information that you've gathered from your questionnaire and from any chats you have with them beforehand. Do you have any involvement in their speeches and readings?
From inquiry, I'm asking about story. From the wedding details form I send to the clients, I'm asking all the related questions about story, about their story. And that includes asking if they're saying their own personal vows. Will they be giving each other letters in the morning? I would say I have less involvement in terms of the speeches, but I do think I'm quite blessed because I have a lot of American clients, and generally their speeches are amazing. They just really are. And I have lots of mature clients, and then therefore you know that they're going to have an interesting story, and you also know that the audio you're going to capture is going to be interesting. And you know, this about me is that for me, the audio is half the story. So that's why I was saying before that listening is really, really important on the day. So there's those stages. There's inquiry, gather your ideas for story. There's planning and preparation, and then there's on the day. So I have videography workshops and retreats, and I teach the art of storytelling through cinematic videography. But I teach people that the art and the management of storytelling is really one and the same. I can't teach you to be creative. That comes with experience and expertise, but I can give you all the tools to put into place that will give you the best possible chance of being able to tell a story on the day without getting all this other mess and noise in your head.
Well, that is an important thing, because I found myself sometimes part of the getting a good story is kind of focusing, and that was going to be another question I was about to ask. How do you find if a couple has lots of interesting elements to their story, do you find a particular thread to kind of focus on, or do you try and weave several together?
In the process of the editing stage, there are often times when I weave and I'm working my way through different stories, especially with the longer film of the day. But I would definitely say that for my trailers, they are committed to one story. I had a wedding last year in May. The groom, Stuart, had managed to keep all the things along the way since they first met, like a pebble on the beach.
Sweet.
Their first ever ticket, their first ever date. At first I thought to myself, how on earth am I going to extract the best part of that for a moment in the trailer? But the thing is, for me, it's really important that my trailers aren't highlights films. So no, I do not try and put in lots of different stories. My trailers are one story, and I commit to that story in that trailer. So I committed to his speeches in the trailer, which some people would think, oh, that's a bit brave. What about all the other stuff? And there was loads of other really good stuff. But for my trailer, I wanted to commit and stay focused on that one story.
And one video I saw of yours, it was I think there were two American men who were getting married. And I noticed it was quite nice. You seemed to have some shots in what we would call the couple shoot, where I think it quite closely reflected their story. I don't know if they met in a restaurant or something.
Yes.
And I thought it's really clever. You'd gone the extra mile. We normally would just get shots of people stood out in a field or whatever. But yeah, I wondered whether sometimes their story affects like what you do on the couple shoots.
They really wanted to reenact how they first met.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't know how it's going to work. So I contacted, they were staying in Bern that night. And so I thought, right, we'll do the Electric Arena. We'll get back to Bern for golden hour. I knew that they wanted to read a poem to one another. And again, the sun was out. I mean, honestly, it was unbelievable. The weather was just like,
all the stars aligned.
The journey between Interlaken and Bern, it was cloudy, and I thought, oh, I'll just go back to the hotel and relax. And we got to Bern and the sun was out and the golden hour was happening. I was like, right, get your asses down in reception in 5 minutes.
It's got to be done.
And then I pulled ahead and spoke, and the wedding the next day was, they were going across a lake on a boat to the Castle Oberhofen. So everything about their wedding was going to be, every single shot was going to be really worthy. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah. But they really wanted to reenact this first look. So they weren't. It was an early start the next morning. I filmed both the groom preps, but I contacted the Schweizerhof, which is the hotel in Bern, 5-star hotel, and they were really sweet. They said, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." So we popped in after we'd done the portrait shoot the night before. We went to have a look at the seating area where we would be able to sit them. And Ian went in on the day, and he was looking at his watch, all that sort of stuff. And then Brandon walked up the street, came up an escalator, walked up the street, looked in the window as Brandon looked out of the window. Obviously, this was all shot mostly on one camera, apart from the last moment. So that was one shot which we had to nail with 3 cameras, but you had to kind of build their suspense between them both. But yeah, it worked perfectly.
Good evening, friends and family. Welcome to Lake Thun. Welcome to the beautiful Schloss Oberhofen, and welcome to the wedding of Ian and Brandon. Yesterday's excursion to Jungfrau Joch left me breathless.
Tour groups with tour leader are requested to board at the purple gate.
Let's run away and find a field of sunflowers.
We'll let them teach us their choreographed dance they do with the wind.
We'll wander back home and do the same dance in our living room, remembering the freedom we felt with the dancing pedals.
And those days we don't feel like dancing, we'll remember there is always a place we can go to get away from it all. Brandon, from the moment we locked eyes through the window at our first date spot and exchanged the first of many smiles, I knew we had a special connection.
Still today, our connection is unwavering, and our life together holds as much excitement and promise as we felt on our first date. Ian, you're my guy, and I promise to always be yours.
I promise that when we are old and gray, we will look back on our life together and have no regrets. I promise you this today and the rest of my days.
I have an excerpt from The Bridge Across Forever. How am I doing so far? A soulmate is someone who has locks that fit your keys and keys that fit your locks. When we feel safe enough to open those locks, our truest selves step out. We can be completely and honestly who we are, and can be loved for who we are and not for who we might pretend to be. Each unveils the best part of the other. No matter what else goes wrong around us, with that one person, we're safe in our own paradise. Our soulmate is someone who shares our deepest longings, our sense of direction. When we're two balloons together, our direction is up, and chances are we found the right person. Our soulmate is the one who makes life come to life. Pleasure.
I now pronounce you united in marriage. You may kiss your husband.
It's been really great seeing how happy Ian you've made Brandon. Brandon and I often joke that he's made Ian sassier, but which is really great though when it's used specifically on Brandon, which is quite often. But Ian, you've made Brandon a much more carefree and relaxed person. And finding someone that he loves as much as he loves you has made him shift his priorities and made him sweat the small stuff a lot less. So let's all raise a toast to Brandon and Ian. May you continue to grow and change together with your love guiding the way.
That was their story, and they gave me that. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying about Americans.
That's it.
It's gold. It's gold.
So the next question I got for you is: Have you had a situation where you've had spoken word from the day, whether it's readings or speeches, where you've struggled with the story? Maybe they were nervous and didn't say much, or the story wasn't as strong, and how do you try and deal with those situations?
That it correlates normally that when that happens, it's a client that it didn't really book me for that reason anyway, because clients that book me for that reason work harder on those elements. I had a client last year, the beginning of the season in May, and you won't have seen this because it's not on my website.
No.
It's a perfectly lovely lovely film, but it's not what I would say truly represents my work and my passion.
Yeah.
But the groom was really quite drunk the night before, still drunk going into the wedding day. In fact, the registrar's undenied as whether they'd marry him. He fell asleep after she had written his vows, so she'd gone some way to give me something that she could use. And she had written his vows, and obviously she'd written her vows, and her reaction to his vows were very, very sweet. But it was hard for me because I knew she'd written them, and I knew that they hadn't come from his heart. She'd put those words in his mouth. Bless her. And I also knew that she was really worried about the speeches. So she's right, well, I'm going to get up and do a speech. And she was right, because the groom had fallen asleep for 2 hours during the wedding day. The speeches were pretty bad. And then she stood up, and she did give a really nice speech actually, but the problem is she had a bottle of Stella in her hand.
Oh, no.
That just never really looks very good. Still, really a film at the end of the day that I'm proud of, and the couple loved it, so that's all that matters, right? But yeah, you are going to get that. You are, but as I said, it normally correlates that the clients that you can't eke a story out of for their wedding, and it becomes more like a wedding film, are the clients that aren't going to worry about that anyway.
I've found the same. I've had occasional weddings where I've felt the story's not as strong, and yeah, you give it to the clients, and I think they're aware of that, and they're still happy with the product. But I guess you just don't put it out there on your website, like you say. And what would be your biggest piece of advice to other wedding videographers in improving their story? I guess you probably see a lot of people who go on your course, and you see a lot of other work out there. What do you think is like the biggest mistake or the biggest area for improvement?
One of the problems is that in a world where everything is freelance, you just say yes. So you end up becoming a bit of a sausage factory. You pile them high, your wedding commissions, and you don't actually get a lot of time to work on them. That might be your business strategy. That might be the way you want to earn money. The moment I started charging a lot more and doing less gave me time to focus more on each individual client, which I think is really, really important. So if it's to do with your business, then you need to decide whether or not you want to have a niche and you want to just target particular clients. You will find that some planners will really like that, and other planners, they just want to go in with something a little bit cheaper. But I get a lot of recommendations from high-end planners and high-end photographers that can tell their clients that they've already commissioned who are looking for a videographer, here's something really, really different. Then as a videographer, you need to know that you're following that niche of whatever that niche is that you want to be. It doesn't have to be story. And that's really, really important as well. So doing all your branding work and doing all your finding your niche work, that's really, really, really important as well. But I would say, there's a big difference between a highlights film and a trailer. And in my online course, and any presentation I've ever given at the video show for Canon and the video show themselves on storytelling has always been about the differences between, just a wedding film, a normal wedding film, and a story. And one of those things, is about highlights films, the difference between a trailer and a highlights film. I really haven't got enough time to go into all that detail, but it's one of the things I teach, that as soon as people can start identifying, they can start making those choices. But the last thing is a technical thing, and for me, it's the audio. If you're going to offer highlights film with a music montage where audio is incidental, and I'm not just talking about audio clips, I'm talking about putting those audio clips in an order that tell a story, not just using cliched ones. Talking about using ambient sound on the day in order to drive the story. So for me, audio is half the story, and I think it's really, really important that if you want to become a storyteller, you have to appreciate that. I actually did it when I did way back when I did my media degree. I majored in radio and journalism. At the time it wasn't like now. The cameras were massive if you did TV, and at university you had to choose camera operator, reporter, sound editor, to producer, researcher. But for radio, you did everything. And you probably got it about me already now, is I don't want to give anyone else any credit for anything. That's why I liked being a VJ. So you have to be able to do everything. And that means you can't just show up with a TX650 and think that's good enough audio. My audio bag is as extensive as probably got more variety in it than my camera bag, because for me, audio is really important, and knowing how to nail that audio is crucial for me.
Definitely. Well, I think that's all the questions I'd got myself. I know you've got this course, and it would be great to find out more about the course. And also, just to say, if anyone does have any questions for you, any of the viewers of the video, maybe if they could pop them in the comments. But love to hear a bit more about your course, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So, I am a woman who photo and film ambassador. I'm a Canon educator and a Sennheiser ambassador. And I've always been passionate about teaching. When I was at the BBC, I also worked for BBC College of Journalism, and I was a newsroom mentor. So it is something I really love doing. It's my other passion, is teaching. When a few years ago, I started doing videography retreats just for women. And then last year I opened it up to couples and teams. They were here in Switzerland, 3-day retreats. This year I was going to be running some of those in London, but obviously, thanks COVID, all of that got put back on the back burner. And I thought, well, I can either sit on my backside all summer, which just isn't me, or I can do what I've always wanted to do. And so I decided to bring my Evolve videography training online. So initially I opened up the course to female filmmakers, so the Wedding Film Academy for female filmmakers. Opened up that first just because I have a Facebook group of female film creatives with over 500 members. So for me, it was important for me to look after them and nurture them during this difficult time. And then I had others asking me to open it up. So just yesterday, so 1st of July, the course, I opened another course up for couples and teams, and that's the Film Academy for Wedding Videographers. So you can go onto my website, Evolve Videography Training, and that will take you straight through to more information about the courses. But just to let you know, they're not death by PowerPoint, these courses. They're you become part of a Facebook community. There's twice monthly webinars. I'm constantly updating the content in the webinar. The multi-camera webinar live demo that I recorded in a church local to me this week, that will get put in one of the modules in the course to complement what's already in there about multi-cameras. It's not just about filming, it's about your business, it's about your packages and pricing, it's about knowing your worth and doing your branding work. And after every module, there's 7 modules. After every module, you're expected, you're accountable, you're given a challenge, you're given a task, and you're expected to do that task. And you don't have to finish it in 7 weeks. Some people are going into week 5 now. Some people are actually still on week 1 and 2. It's there forever. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm adding bonus modules as I go along, and one of them will be on the art of storytelling. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased. It's been a really long 4 months since March. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to weddings as well. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure we all are. It's been a strange summer so far, but
so far.
I know. We're still not sure when it's going to end, are we? But
it's better here in Switzerland. I say that, but we've just had a recent spike, and they've only just made face masks compulsory on the trains now. But when we talk about spikes, we're not talking about anything in comparison to what you're experiencing in the UK. So let's just forget about 2020, shall we?
Yeah, definitely. Rock on 2021, definitely. It's been fascinating talking to you, Emma, and people should definitely check out your course. We'll include a link beneath the video here. Emma's got incredible experience, and she's got so much to teach. And also check out her wedding videos on her website. We'll include a link to that as well. And
just to say, if there's any women videographers watching, they should ask to join Female Film Creatives. And if there's any videographers out there that do destination weddings, I also run a Destination Wedding Videographers Facebook group with Daniel Almatage from Juno Weddings. So it's slightly quiet at the moment, but next year, of course, hopefully it'll be buzzing again.
Yeah, definitely. But, well, thanks again, Emma. It's been
thank you, Ben. It's been really nice.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.